Skip. I want to be honest with y'all how I feel about 2K24. I'm not impressed, and I'm really not getting it. And part of that reason is crossplay being enabled. I know that's a big thing. The kinks in the game, it's really not looking good. And each year, that people are trying to pass off the stuff and being more secretive each year. I just don't see it. I really don't see it. You should have a demo. And they only give it to a select few people. I'm not necessarily even mad at that. I'm just mad they don't allow it to the masses, because these people's opinion that they invite out to the game, half them niggas don't even play the game. It would be completely honest, for a certain period of time, they might play it for like, I'll say 4 months max. And the only person I can say has constructive criticism really for is Duke Dennis. I say Duke Dennis is definitely one of the ones that honestly, he gives his honest opinion. And, all the current people, G-Man stopped playing 2K. And I know a lot of the reason that is, the game was just trash. Poor Boy Sin and, who was it? What up, Sean? Poor Boy Sin and Ticino would basically play the game 2K. They didn't play 2K when it was dead. 2K21, 2K22, 2K23. They were playing the game when it was consistently dead. And if you really think about it, whenever you're playing a game and then you're having wagers and trying to keep the game interesting, making new builds, I don't want to think about the money they were spending for it. They could write it off for tax purposes, and then they got logos, and they got all this type of stuff. The creator input, and then basically the creator, I guess, cost. They can justify it. The average person can't go out here and make, afford to make 4 or 5 bills. You're talking about $300 plus on each character, and include animations and clothes. A lot of people probably roasted me for wearing the same outfit, for a long time on 2K. You don't spend money that you don't have, or just, you don't want to spend money on a virtual video game, and we're starting to transfer to next year. And people have really allowed 2K to get away with a lot of stuff. It's not going to, basically received well by certain people, especially me. You allowed a battle pass for $20 extra. All that stuff was basically free, but you put it behind a paywall and call it Hall of Fame, including the $70 that you were already trying to charge and incur the cost of people. And then on top of it, the $50, and not even include the animation and clothes people are going to get the first day. Me personally, I don't think the $74 is even justified, and it's really not even a great purchase. And that's my honest opinion. We need a demo to be able to play the game. The people creating the builds and the builders in the 2K Community Week, these guys are probably going to play the game to a certain extent, but I mean it's puffery at best. You shouldn't allow the game to be only played by a handful of people. These people are basically getting paid to do it. I'm not mad they're getting paid. I think it's just puffery. Because whenever you have a bad track record of making crap products and you put it behind a paywall and now you're being a little bit more secretive with the whole thing, that's not a business move. That's just terrible. Just terrible business. And then especially when you have online gambling and you're marketing it to kids and you try to cover it up with their loot boxes or these My Team packs, all the stuff is interconnected this year, you're really telling me that you don't care. The risk and reward. You're trying to hit people's brains. You're trying to do this, that, and the third. You're really trying to get people to spend unnecessary money. And all this My Player stuff is temporary dopamine hits. That's really what it is. You shouldn't spend $50 on a My Player. You really shouldn't have to. In order to compete in an online virtual basketball game. Imagine you make a player that is somewhat good and the meta is not going to be maybe a short point guard. Then my meta for how I play is like a 6'7", passing and passing and a little bit of shooting. A little bit of dunking too, but honestly speaking, I'm not getting 2K24, man. It's just not worth it. In all actuality, you shouldn't have to spend $100 plus on a game. I'm just sorry as I could be. And all that money incurred and all that money you about to spend, you can get 3 games. Why give somebody something and they're not even taking their time to develop a good product, and then you won't even allow a demo? And the word of mouth marketing, they know they could do it. Yeah, and we won. We won each and every time. I don't even think they beat us. Because I was using like a post-scoring, a post-scoring, what was it? It was like a post-scoring finisher. It had a little bit of shooting. I was shooting greens at 73-pointer. I remember it was my 2K20 build. Yes, we won. I don't let them win because I have post-score takeover. And trust me, if I have a post-score, nobody's winning. Nobody is winning. If I have a post-score, and that's a part of the problem with 2K. A post-score is going to be dominant in 2K24. And then the thing about it, this year or next year, pretty much all the years, there are going to be a whole lot of people boosting for the top rep. I'm not standing on no game no 24 hours, bruh. I'm as far as I can be. It's not putting... Yes, I dropped them off. I dropped them off because I was with JB. And that's honest to God. If JB gets 2K24, I might get it, but I'm not getting it right away. Honestly speaking, 2K is just one of those games where, honestly speaking, if you master 1 to 2 components of the game, you might have an early advantage. Like, for instance, 2K19, all you had to do is basically make a shooting build. To a certain extent, have basically sharp take. Shot creators were OP, but sharps were definitely OP. Once you got that takeover, it was game over. You could basically shoot over 2 or 3 people, and it would be automatic green. As long as you had a little bit of a space, and then as long as you had like some distance, and you had limitless range on like gold, it was going in. That's almost guaranteed. And honestly speaking, the days of like, the video games and certain stuff, the games weren't made the same. If someone says that 2K17 was the best video game or the best thing, it really wasn't. I would say the palettes and the colors of the parks were still the same. And everybody wants to talk about 2K17 was the best 2K. It really wasn't. It was just too arcadey. And then again, I didn't like how they basically made Rough Riders Court look terrible. It was the same thing from 2K16, the original one. 2K16 is better than 17. I'll tell that to anybody right now, and I can explain why. Now, the only thing I will say about 2K from that point on is, 2K16 was better. 2K16 was better on defense because that was part of the problem. I'll tell you why. You got too many people doing certain stuff, and niggas was sliding. And they haven't recently got that fixed. They have not even really got that fixed. 2K22 was the worst one where you just be sliding. People could do a certain move, and tight handles will have you in an animation that make you look cockeyed. And then basically when you put your hands up, the person automatically green because they had a bash in the gate, bad shots. And once you put your hands up with this automatic contest, you pretty much gave them a green. And that makes no sense. 2K, they're not thinking. 2K wants your money, but they're not doing anything for it. That's why I have a problem with them. And their money is uncontested. Anytime you have a game and the puffery's at an all-time high, oh, this is the best game ever. What anything tangible have you seen from the game? Each year, they're basically drip-feeding more content. They're creating a narrative where they don't have to show you anything, and their pre-orders will still be as high. That's a fact. And on top of that, if you compound everything each year, At least with like 2K18, they gave a demo. 2K18 was trash, but they gave a demo. You were allowed to see a component of your build. 2K19 demo. 2K20 demo. Even 2K21 demo. 2K17 had no skill gap. And I'll tell anybody that. It had no skill gap. You could create a player, and no matter the rating, to a certain extent, it could shoot. And that's the problem. I think if you have a 33-pointer, you should be airballing. A good percentage of the time, you should be airballing. Your shot window should not even be remotely to green. The release point, everything about it, like if you're not within range, your shot window, your green window should get smaller. The lower your ratings are, you should not be able to shoot. I don't care if you know the base, the jump shot timing, and everything. If your rating does not match up, you should not have the ability to be greening or hitting a shot. Now, the occasional, if I'm wide open and I have like what, a 65 mid-range. If I have a 65 mid-range, I should be able to green a 13-foot jump shot. I'm not saying that, but the thing is, once you start giving people a 17-foot jump shot, it is definitely almost at a point of being in the corner. Yeah, that's a problem. You shouldn't be able to hit a green, especially if it's contested, in somebody's face. And then all this stuff. 2K has done some stupid stuff like 2K19. They allowed somebody to have what is it? They allowed somebody to have silver quarter specials for lockdowns. Now, the most OP build of all time, I'm going to have to say, is the 2K19. Basically, I'm going to say the Lockdown Defender. The 610 Lockdown Defender, and I'm going to say the 7-3. Why do you keep leaving games? Because no one's there. I'm trying to get kills. I don't like a dead game. My main problem with 2K now, it's not even necessarily that they don't make a good, static game. It's the gameplay. If you already got people based off the stuff on the rookies and certain stuff, that's cool, but that's not anything about the gameplay. They're showing considerably less and less. What are you trying to hide? If you're trying to get me to spend $74, you're not gonna get it. I'm gonna make you earn it. Because basically that's telling me, and about their thought process, they don't have to do anything, and the pre-orders and stuff are going to be so high. And you get like, I would say maybe 3 people, and like in the community that makes it stand up to 2K, a lot of stuff would be changed. Because you think about, people talk about NBA Live. NBA Live is not in any type of capacity to even make 2K. You gotta speak to your pockets. That's the thing about it. If 2K shows nothing, and each year there's a metric that shows you, and they're going to keep on basically drip feeding and basically not even releasing stuff until the week of, and then pre-order is still high, that will always be the trend. And then secondly, once a certain type of stuff like that, the sales are going through the roof with microtransaction, I would love to see the data. I would love to see the data on how they got with that $20 idea for basically a battle pass. I would love to see the data behind that. But they know they can get it. And sadly, I think they will. And then the profits will be through the roof. And once the profits are through the roof, it's going to get worse. Like, MWN said, Black Akage, he basically said that, he said since 2K13, it's gotten worse. I told my sister the other day that VC, a good amount of VC back then in 2K13 was like, 99 cents up to $20, and that would be actually a lot. Since then, the VC inflation has been absolutely high. Like 2K16 or 2K17, you could max out a player for like $30. Now, oh my God, those days are long gone. The grind has got longer, the baddies have got longer, the meta has changed, and you're wasting money on multiple builds. Not even including the cutscenes and everything you have to go through. And then the VC payout rates are terrible each and every year. So really what you're doing, me personally, I don't think the game is really worth buying. That's my opinion. Now, at the same time, if people talk about, oh man, my career storyline is going to probably be whack. Let's start there. Then two, we're tired of seeing the city. The city is whack. You're putting stuff in there. You're trying to make it seem popular. You're trying to get your people up in there. You're trying to control the narrative about what it is. And then for the money, the price of the money that you basically spending, I'm not spending no $150 on no 2K. 24? $150. And then you gotta talk about $50 worth of VC. If you were to actually go and buy a mod player with the VC they gave you, you will probably only have a player up to like what, 70? I want to say between 75 and probably an 82 or 83. And each year it gets worse. So I want to say you're probably going to be an 80 overall after everything is said and done. And on top of the badges and certain stuff like that, to me, a player is better when you basically earn and grind for it. I mean, at the end of the day, if I really think about it, if I was really on my grind with a mod player, I could possibly get my dude to an 80 in like 2 to 3 weeks. But what I realized is better to upgrade in bulk than to actually to upgrade individually. They're not going to do that. And the crazy thing about 2K is they're going to constantly try to get people to go, and whoever the script writers are, it's not really expansive. It's much more the same. If I have a basketball video game, we're getting tired of the G League stuff. We're getting tired since Next Gen. They've been terrible. Next Gen 2K has been terrible for the last three years, and I had it since it came out. When 2K21 came out next gen, the game was choppy, the game was laggy. I played my first few games, and it was like my console was going way too slow. The directional stuff was just bad. The functionality and everything was basically done for. And then my main problem with next gen is, now that people have the consoles and everything, everybody wants to tend to forget all the stuff that's been out there. Like Rookieville. Rookieville was great. Well, every game was lagging. To a degree, yes. But the patches and performance issues, you had Miles Morales. Miles Morales was running great. And a lot of the problems that I have is multiplayer games are getting outshadowed by single-player games. 2K won't even be in a contention for Game of the Year. Because 2K is not even really that greatly made, and I'm not trying to crap on 2K. Sports video games in itself is just terrible. Madden is a prime example. You had crossplay and it didn't even work, and Snoop Dogg was cussing people out, smoking his weed, going on Instagram, and basically cussing out Madden because the crossplay couldn't work. And I'm just like, for whatever it is, you're a multi-billion-dollar company. You're getting people behind your product. And all of a sudden, you don't invest in your servers. You're not investing in your business plans. You're quick to add different revenue streams like Madden Ultimate Team, all this type of stuff, these packs. But when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, you're not working that hard for people's, I'll guess say their experience. You're working hard for that money, but you're not reinvesting, putting the money back for stability. You're not doing that. And at the same time, when you think about business, the investment in a server is expensive. Yeah, well, it didn't work. Snoop Dogg was cussing EA out about getting the crossplay working. Me personally, I'm not a fan of Madden either. Madden's part of the problem too, but you know what? I said we created them. If you feel like because of your success, you don't have to work as hard for my money, that's just not cool. I'm not letting people get away with that. Bro, this guy, what does this guy have? They didn't take that out of the game. They didn't take that out of the game. Them people are seriously playing NBA 2K24 like tomorrow, I think. And they got this thing called the embargo, and they can't show gameplay. They're drip feeding content each year. It's only so much you can do. I think personally, when I think about 2K and Madden, they're one and the same. And why that is, they've been around since basically around the same time. I would say NFL Blitz in the early 2000 games were a whole lot better than what you have now. Madden's trash. 2K and EA can't even touch the NFL Blitz. The games were better, by far better, but people who develop them are no longer in business. So that says a lot. NBA Live wasn't even really that good in my opinion. There was other games that basically started out like NBA Drive. There was this game like on Sega called like NBA Drive, and that's how 2K basically got the sim stuff. All the other stuff like the energy levels, they got it from there, like how you basically play the game. They got all that type of stuff from them. And I think it was NBA Drive like 95. Video game. Yeah, it was NBA Inside Drive. Those games were good. It was purchased, like it was made by Microsoft. NBA Inside Drive was a whole lot better than 2K and EA, but it's only a small handful of things. And then also too, when you have no competition and you have nobody really out there creating a basketball video game, you're going to be complacent. And that's someone's job. Like imagine you spend 10 months out the whole year creating a basketball video game. I don't think I could really work for somebody like 2K. God, I know they would hate me because I wouldn't let them get away with certain stuff. Because it's terrible. Anytime that you seriously have someone, and then again, that's not what I want to do with my life. It's just terrible. The video game, 2K shouldn't be at a point where I feel like is 100% bad. Many components of 2K is bad, but I feel like we created the problem. We have definitely created a problem in which basically what we have. People complain each year that, we need multiple pie charts. And the demigod. 2K allowed the demigod. They said they were going to ban people doing demigod glitch. No, they didn't. They were making money off of it. And when you basically factor that in, I never had no demigod. I just basically made a 7-3 center. Basically got my badges on it, got to 85 overall, and I was beating demigods. My boy had a 7-foot small forward. All we used to do is, once we got the ball, stop the demigods. We used to just take mid-ranges. Green. And then patch 4, 2K has made stupid mistakes each year that cost the game a lot. And it started in 2K15. 2K16. They took out speed boosting. To me, I never relied on speed boosting. 2K16 was the last skill of 2K ever. The last skill. 2K17 wasn't really skilled because people could dribble out the shot clock and they lost nothing. Now they started to get the people to lose the ball and drop the ball. And this year what it's looking like, the adrenaline and everything, once you basically not moving like that, yeah, you're going to be penalized a lot. So I don't know. If I get 2K24, which is a strong, probably no, until there's some type of demo, or not demo, or some type of period where it's $35. like during Black Friday, I'll pass. Because it doesn't make that much sense to give you my money and then basically be at a like a low point. Because once you basically start to give people, you know, $70 each year, and the pre-order numbers and the analytics guys, they'll start to say, we don't got to do anything. We don't have to show anything. And that's exactly what they've been doing the last 3 years. Because the numbers are still... Got him. The numbers are still great. Never seen a dip in pre-order sales and certain stuff. People say we're not going to buy 2K. 2K, in my opinion, I can't give them $100, bro. Can't give them $100. I'm sure this is what I did. It's crazy. Of course it sucks. Okay, man. Uncontested loot. Uncontested loot. Uncontested money. You're giving your money on blind trust for services not even performed. How many issues did 2K23 have? I can name a lot. Lack of balance. Lack of direction. You had another thing of seasons. You changed the course, you changed the aesthetics. But to be honestly speaking, 2K really hasn't done a great job of implementing new things. They have made measures, but poor execution all the way around. Gameplay-wise, 2K really hasn't done that much. You shouldn't have a few moves lasting in the whole game a whole year. You shouldn't allow somebody to have limitless takeoff. 6'9" point guards, those are not happening no more. 6'9" shoot guards, those will happen. I'm open to a 6'9" small forward, being able to do a lot of stuff, but it needs to be a balance. And a cutoff. Because the moment when people don't have that, like, a person is only allowed to do so much under the realm of certain stuff. Like a 6'9" player. I'd rather have a 6'9" player that is, if you're going to be a shooter, I'd rather you be one-dimensional. I'd rather you be a spot-up, or I'd rather you be what you call a catch-and-shoot player. And to me, they should have a certain role, like signature skill. If I'm a corner specialist, that's my main thing. Like direct matchmaking. If I'm a quarter specialist, they didn't match me up. If I basically set up for a role, quarter specialist, I'm looking for a shooter. I'm looking for a playmaker. I'm looking for a rebounder. I'm looking for a person who's defensive minded. They love defense more than they do offense. There needs to be a good balance and a good buffer for the matchmaking system. Because too many people in the matchmaking system is so flawed that you're literally getting blown out. If you talk about help on rec, you can't help on rec. A lot of these people, they're getting cooked. I'm not saying you're allowing them to get cooked. Even if you do switch, there's always somebody like in 2K20. There was always a slashing playmaker. There always was a rebounding wing, and there was always a glass cleaning lock. Now that explosive behind the back move stayed in the game the whole freaking year, and that lineup was so toxic. And you really did not. You really had, in order to win against that. I'm not even saying you even play sides. If you even played sides or whatnot, you were really going to either get a lob. The glass lock was going to get a lob, or the rebounding wing is going to be able to hit the corner three or whatnot. And or they just basically switch. Glass cleaner lock goes and does a give and go, and then the rebounding wing to the corner. It really was a lose-lose situation for the basic defense. You just had to be on all cylinders and take whatever points you could get off the fast break and dunk the ball in. To me, 2K is not a game of absolutes. Like the game of basketball life, anything is really not a game of absolutes and guarantees. There's no guarantee when you wake up tomorrow that your job is going to be still there. Because the job market is still continuously being in a cycle in a market and where things can change and you find out you don't have a job. It is what it is on that one. You just gotta be proactive, I guess, and hope for the best and then wishful thinking. This person get a life. That guy really tried to run me over with a car. Exert though. Donald Trump arrested. I find that hilarious. And also, I told my mom and dad I don't think Donald Trump is going down. And to a certain extent, I still don't think he's going down. I actually find it very hard to believe that man is going down. I'm not even a Donald Trump fan. I'm really not. Because basically what his appointments basically do, if it goes to Supreme Court or something like that, or something goes, he has it stacked. So even if it does, he has a favorable outcome. He has a favorable outcome. It don't necessarily matter exactly what he does. It's just going to be a matter of who's going to basically be allowed to get that case done. What checks and balances are in place, if there's even any, because at the end of the day, it's one of those things where I don't want to say people above the law, because nobody above the law, but it's just not a good look. I'll probably play a few more, give you my few thoughts on 2K. I really want to see what these souls are talking about. Fousey, dude. I know people are talking about Fousey. When I think about Fousey, I think the internet has really messed people up. And then Fousey has bipolar disorder. And for whatever reason, I think he needs to get off the internet. Once he's in a manic state, he needs to get off the internet. I know he got arrested the other day, but the only thing bad about that is whenever he has like security, these people not saying anything. When this man's clearly not in his best frame of mind, with his decisions very brass. He's out here slapping people. He's out here fighting people. He's being belligerent. And this, that, and the third. Whenever you're doing something like that, you get yourself shot. And a bad thing about, like, mental health crisis and this, that, and the third, or just the state of mental health and wellness, especially with the internet. The internet is only amplifying, I guess, mental health issues. And then you add some stardom in there, you sprinkle that in there. The judgment starts getting cloudy. The people, Leon basically got slapped by Fousey. Fousey got arrested. I think anybody that hang out with Fousey is getting themselves potentially into trouble. Just strictly because of his actions and this, that, and the third. And long story short, really what I think about it is, he did that Neon like that. Neon should have, I wouldn't say stood up for himself to a certain extent. He probably could have got hurt to a degree. But don't put yourself in a situation where you got certain stuff like that that won't cool. I think the thing about, like, too, with all these people get these platforms, I really don't care. Like, in terms of platform, subscriber count. At the end of the day, it is what it is. Subscriber count, no one knows you, and you live in a quiet, peaceful life. That sounds a whole lot better than being in the limelight. And you work hard for your money. I'm not saying these other people don't work hard for their money, but money and fame and all this stuff is fleeting. It comes a dime a dozen, and then what's next? Honestly, being an influencer, your 5 minutes or 5 seconds of fame is quickly here and quickly gone tomorrow. Your good deeds are forgotten quicker than ever now. Be completely honest, there's a lot of people in traditional sense, they find themselves on like social media websites, Lipstick Alley, or this, that, and the third. I think, sometimes with Lipstick Alley, these other stuff, they're making money off the peril of other people's struggles, and I think that needs to stop. Also, when people are in the public eye, but honestly speaking, when people have stories or certain stuff that's going a little bit too far, it's amplifying. These people are, having, breakdowns on the internet, or the management companies, or people managing them, people feel they're taken advantage of, or people being abused. That's pretty bad. Like, I think Kodak Black, he did a live stream. He was talking in the dark. People said that man good. I think that man was high. I think that man was just basically not in the best frame of mind. Whoever was recording that video made themselves look bad, and that shouldn't have been on the internet, man. Shouldn't have been on the internet. And then, two, at the same time, and there's people going on 14 to 15 hours a day talking about this, that, and the third. I'm going to leave this game. And there's people going on 14 to 15 hours talking about people, this, that, and the third, and being very belligerent, this, that, and the third. I don't think that should even be on the internet either. Like, there's just another like Charleston White. I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of Charleston White at all, because I think a lot of stuff he says is, and some of it's funny, but some of it's just coonery. Like, you know, you can't be in the right frame of mind if you talking about people for 14 hours, man. And then all these people was gambling or hanging out with certain people, and people was always ending up dead. I feel like to a certain extent, especially like with craps, if you come from the hood and you know what happens, you always know there's gonna be that one fool who gambles more than what they have, and you know they want to be a big shot. Their ego is fragile, and you don't get them a chance to get their money back. You know someone's getting hurt, and you know pride for certain people is just so fragile, and people's ego is so fragile nowadays. It don't take much. The people not gonna give you a chance, and then too, especially go to New York City, all these major places, these people out on the sidewalks and certain stuff like that, got these cup scams and talk about big money. You got big money. I mean, the thing, like I said, life is no guarantees, no absolutes. So at the end of the day, these people in on an elaborate scam. They work in quarters. Even if you see someone winning, they might be a part. And most of the time, these people are in on the scam. So at the end of the day, you're really getting played. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people, especially with gambling, the expected value is less than -1. So, or even -3, that's a common value. So statistically speaking, your odds are very low in winning. The only thing I will say is possibly people can make money, but again, it just depends on the hand. It's blackjack. You know, blackjack is possibly, it's a little bit more fair odds, but even still then, you can't, if someone comes in, they had dynamic or something like that, +1 or whatnot, that can change your hands, that can change your odds, and then you gotta be pretty smart. I don't gamble, but I know that that's a fact. If people come in there and dynamics off, you know, your odds, especially you versus the dealer, I mean, you might, there's no guarantee, and the stuff's already kind of predetermined to a certain extent. To an extent. And basically what their hands is, what yours is, and yours is basically up to 21. Whoever has the better thing, you wind up winning. And if you have a full house or you have a flush, hey, you're doing pretty good. But at the end of the day, gambling is not a good thing. I don't gamble. I do not gamble, because at the end of the day is rigged. Everything is kind of rigged. Like when you start putting stuff in perspective, $100,000 in a place like LA is not even that much money. Because how much money are you going to be spending on housing? How much money are you going to be having for entertainment expense? How much money are you spending on gas? And how many variable expenses do you have? Or how many variables can change? Like gas in LA could possibly like $8 or $6. If you're making $15.50, you know, I might go back to California soon, but I don't know how soon. Yeah, $15.50 an hour, and gas is like what, $6 or $7. Over half your money's gone, not including taxes, and including rent. Imagine rent being in a place like, you know, $4,000 or $5,000. You wouldn't even be able to afford that, and afford to even live. If you think about it, you're working 40 hours a week. That's what, $600 or $700 max before taxes, unless you get paid under the table, which you'd have to be. So $700 a week. That's $2,800. You gotta live. You gotta do this stuff: food, shelter. And if you living with 3 different people, I don't want to live with 3 different people. you know. But there's people doing it in California, especially where I was at, 8 people in a room, and everybody's paying like $500. They able to sustain themselves, and they're young. I wouldn't have done that. Working in the service industry, I do not agree that there should be a working class. Everybody can't make it no $100,000. I can tell you that. But I do think rent should be lower. The cost of certain stuff does not exist. Like the premium for a place does not exist. If you have to lose, I would say about, I'm going to say 65% your bargaining power or your buying power, you already lost. You essentially lost. Because at the end of the day, rent should be no higher, in my opinion, maybe to a certain extent, depending on where you live. I would say a 1-bedroom or maybe a 2-bedroom place. I would say my ideal place would possibly be around, I'm gonna be fair with market rates, $2,200 a month. $2,200 to $2,500. And depending on the place, people try to say certain stuff is a premium. It's not a premium. These people are not putting any work in basically the apartment. There's plenty of places they're basically renting people off. And we have a lot of problems with the place. Once these places get the security deposit and then you got the lease and certain stuff, you have to pay money to break a lease. And everything about apartment is subject to change. Like, for instance, I understand that this is a contract, there's probably a management group with this, that, and the third. They're pricing their stuff out so they can make money on the back end. Rarely is anybody making money off real estate to a certain extent, especially with a property, like a new couple apartments. That's going to take a few years. And basically, they might have some introductory prices, and then they're going to start to shift their prices after a few things to make their money. But honestly, I don't think that real estate is even necessarily a great venture. It's probably high stress, BS meetings. I'm not afraid to speak my mind in terms of certain stuff. A lot of stuff, people have meetings, this, that, and the third. But honestly, the market has changed for certain stuff, and people try to say there's a premium for certain stuff when there's no premium at all. The premium cannot be commanded. Like, it's like someone basically saying, you're looking at a crappy place, and someone says it's a 3-bedroom fixer upper when it's really a crack house. So these people are smoking something, especially real estate. They're just trying to sell puffery off onto somebody. Like, you can't be serious. And that's the sad thing about the market. People are so emboldened to say something is what it's worth or what it could be when it's not in reality. And once you have a good kind of grip on how that type of stuff works, you're pretty much going to be at a loss. So in all actuality, the housing market as it stands, in my opinion, there's a correction. The watch market, there's going to be a correction. There already is a correction. And then two, a lot of stuff is not a value, pretty much bargain. Like I tell anybody, a Cartier Crash was like $12,000. Jay-Z bought it and it went up to $100,000, and I think the market price for it today is $150,000. That watch, Cartier makes crappy watches. I don't care what anybody says. They make crappy watches. I wouldn't even buy it. And not everything they do is an investment. I don't think a lot of stuff is investment pieces. Like someone says that the Lefty Sprite is an investment. I'm like, what are they smoking? That watch went for $47,000 at peak, and today it can be had around I'll say $19.95 to $21,200. Those are the prices. And anything outside of that, people are smoking something. Imagine trying to make $2,300 on that. I understand people's costs might be a little bit high, but honestly speaking, I'd rather take $800 to I say $1,100 profit than basically be sitting on a product you're not even moving it. A lot of people don't like my opinion. I'm not necessarily afraid to give my opinion because at the end of the day, business is an ever-evolving landscape. And the stuff that you don't see now, you will have to deal with eventually later. Now, the main problems that I will say with business and in the landscape of business is that at a certain point, people, they start seeing dollar signs and the judgment becomes cloudy. These people do not see the imminent decline coming. A lot of people, especially like with a car dealership, makes no effort to really put money in cars or anything like that. You know, they're not making appreciation on a car. They have to be competitive with other dealerships and whatnot. They have to put in some money. We're not putting in that much money. They're making their money off financing. That's 100% fact. And the Kelly Blue Book value, I don't really see a car, really, or any type of cars today. I don't see cars that are going to really be sustainable. And part of that reason, or the price is sustainable. I was telling my dad that, what was it called? The Volkswagen Beetle, the last one, like the Roadster. That junk was going for like $35,000. The price drop for that has been like between 27. I still think that's too high. That car is really worth $23,000. I wouldn't even pay anything more than that for that car, and I wouldn't even buy it because it's crap. Anytime that someone tries to go and say, "Oh yeah, this is a deal," it's not a deal. People are counting on you not really doing your due diligence and then passing the costs off to you, hoping you be a sucker, and the quality of stuff is not insured. And then when you confront the people about it, they're trying to act stupid, or you should have read the fine print, or you should have done more homework on it. You ask 85% of your money back or something like that. Even with a car, you're not gonna get it. Once you drive off the lot, I wouldn't even just buy it. I say with anything, if you buying something, you buying the person as well. Vet your people, know who you're doing business with. Because I would hate for people that essentially get ripped off, and then at the end of the day, you save your money up and you spend more money in repairs and certain stuff like that when the car, the actual value is low. Come on now. Yes, Lord. Let's go. One of the main problems and components I will say too with business is that business too, especially no matter what industry we're talking about, is that some people can't see the handwriting on the wall. Like, for instance, if someone might have been, one of the best car dealers or car salesmen for a while, they had the big thing, word of mouth. A lot of stuff affects people's business. Especially if there's a type of bypass or some type of construction. You might need to focus on some avenues you haven't even thought of. Because at the end of the day, the steps you do take or you don't take are the steps that can maybe lead to your decline or basically your growth. It doesn't matter what steps you take today and what you're going to do when you see things ain't working out. Some of the people, they're talking about expected growth. Like, I just saw a person, they're in the hot water right now. They were going to Dubai. It was a lady. She ran a food and ethnic food service startup where spices for Nigerian and Ghanaian and then Jamaican people or Caribbean people, where she basically delivered a food service and she had more offerings for people. Where did this guy even come from? That's what I want to know. I'll play one more. I will say, back to what I was saying about this lady. This lady had a business. She come in a hot fire. She basically not pay her people money. She not pay her people money. Her business was in decline. I would say in decline. It was horrible money management, for one. Horrible money management, horrible insight, and then two, she was buying, I don't think she was using company expenses. She had a boyfriend, or if she definitely had a boyfriend, she basically was in Dubai. She would basically spend like 2 weeks and her boyfriend, this and third, they basically living an opulent lifestyle. I mean, she did do investment banking for like 5 years. Or whatnot. I'm not even mad or jealous or anything like that. I mean, she served her dues, but her leadership was, I would say, questionable at best. Clearly questionable. You can't run a business and be off for 2 weeks and no leadership, no guidance, no direction. Your only correspondence is with your employees on email. And then anytime you looking out, you in Mykonos, you in Dubai, you doing all this type of stuff, and then employees come out and blast this lady on Instagram and Twitter, are saying this lady didn't pay, the lady didn't pay them, the people basically work for free. She had big time investors. She had soccer players. She had this, that, and the third going on. Again, I'm not coming for the people, I'm not coming for the people's name. I would never do that to anybody. But at the same time, my biggest problem, especially with the landscape of business, is that once people are starting to come a certain way, people want to know where their money's coming from. When you don't have a game plan, you don't have a lack of direction, and then two, you can't always invest in the business, but you also have to be able to see or reinvest profits back in the business. You have to come up with a game plan. I know this guy was basically talking about move like the way he was using a proverb for the Bible. I was like, I would say that was a little bit corny, but I feel like the purpose he could have said a little bit better. Sometimes using the Bible for like, a verse or something like that. Depending on how people use it, I can see why someone would say something like that, but at the same time, just the application, and then when that person's brand, let's go for another day, it's pretty bad. But back to the lady. The lady, her leadership at best, again, was questionable. She had a boyfriend. She was hanging out in Dubai. She was running a company, a startup. She had big-time investors from, like, soccer. And, her whole Instagram, she's getting blasted by her employees. This is a big story in the United Kingdom. She offered a diverse service. She was offering something that black people needed in London. This, that, and the third. She's getting blasted. She was in Forbes. She was in all this type of stuff. And she's getting blasted on social media by her employees. I really don't agree with that. People should be coming from people at a certain angle. I understand people going through certain stuff, but I think, in my honest opinion, especially when we talk about business, business has to be one of those things where you're staying on top of it. But at the same time, if you can't see the handwriting on the wall, or certain stuff is not sustainable. Like if you were trying to be a food delivery service, and then you were basically trying to not necessarily outsource. You have drivers for your stuff. Your principal getting certain stuff that is only offered a certain place, and you have the lock on it. You have certain partners. You're delivering meals. You're giving meals out for free, depending on if you have good months. That's pretty good. But when you have somebody like a soccer player, this, that, and the third, I would think that you would be in better contact with those type of people. Instead of their money's out there, you're pretty much, have no correspondence with your employees. You're taking 2-week vacations to Mykonos and going out there drinking and carrying on with your boyfriend, this, that, and stuff, Dubai. I'm not necessarily even mad about that. People need to take breaks from work. But the problem is when it's been a sinking ship for like the last 6 months and you haven't really told people that, and people under the guise that things are going smooth, you can really only blame yourself to a certain extent when you're seeing red flags. My main thing now, fool me once, fool me twice, shame on me. That's my whole thing. Shame on me. But at the same time, I think, with a certain type of thing, you always have to be guarded to a certain extent. And nothing lasts forever, in my honest opinion. And then you should always be prepared for disappointment, because life is going to be full of disappointments. It only depends on how you respond to it and how you handle and how you process it. At the same time, I think too many people are going into spaces or, with risks they don't have, experiences they quite frankly don't have, leadership or business acumen they don't have, the knowledge they don't have. I mean, there's other aspects. I mean, being an employee has its benefits. You're not with the high overhead. You don't have to worry about keeping lights on, cutting the market, this, that, and the third. But I think the employees, to a certain extent, had to look out in the interest of what you call it, job longevity in a business. I'd rather be in a headspace where I have a little bit of leverage in a certain extent, where I'm thinking about the next 3 months, and instead of finding out, the 3 months or 4 to 6 months, finding out I was working practically for free and then not having my money, and then my living expenses had gotten so high that basically I was left in the dark about something that should have been forthright and forthcoming. I just can't do that. And the spaces that we are in now, we're occupied in, a lot of people call themselves real estate investors or moguls, and risk and live experience they don't have. That's the problem with social media. If you can go with an internet connection and certain stuff, and you have power, and people are paying you $100, you get 1,000 people. It's 1,000 people, and it's not even the price. I'm being conservative with my numbers. These people be hitting people for far more. You get people on a $400 class. I talk about I'm a coach. Well, what coaching are you really doing? What coaching are you really doing? And I'm not saying about this lady or anything like that. I'm just saying the general space of why I think influencing is bad. The lady, at least she does have some experiencing, and she did have some contacts. But at the end of the day, you cannot go, and for the last 6 months of working, your employees are working harder than you are. And then you knew for the last 6 months that the business wasn't necessarily stabilized. You had some good months, you had some bad months, but you weren't breaking even. And you shut down operations and you lost your big time investors. That puts a bad taste, not only in your investors' mouths. That looks bad. That looks beyond bad. I'm not praying on peril or downfall of anybody, this, that, and the third. I hope the person makes it right. Everything gets sorted and settled out real good. But if we're in a space that we are in now, and when we talk about business, and then all these people have stakes in business, everybody is not necessarily a mogul. Everybody's not a mogul. Everybody don't have the experience to be saying that this, that, and the third. And that has nothing to even do. Someone can, just because someone has experience in banking does not know they know how to run a business. Just because someone's a loan officer doesn't even know it. Basically know they know all about annuities, in my opinion. Because if basically you know what that lady had known about business, you can't even be afford to be out. She was definitely doing multiple trips. I'm not even mad at lady taking trips. Everybody deserves a break. But once people start getting hot, and you got Birkin bags, this, that, your boyfriend is buying this type of stuff, and you're out in the company, and people are basically doing the work. You have an assistant doing your work and all this type of stuff, and you're not even responding to messages. Yeah. That looks tacky. And she's in private and all this stuff. I mean, I'm glad she's taking time for her headspace, but again, that's questionable at best. I'm sorry. I gotta speak my mind. That's questionable at best. I constantly read. I constantly read, man. People say I don't read, but I do read. The place was a successful business for like 2 years. A successful business for 2 years. But that lady, again, you can't be out here for like, taking 2 to 3 week vacations. And then, like I said, the business and the profits weren't even justified. You weren't even breaking even like that. Or even if you do, it's at a slight margin. And then a margin adjustment after everything is said and done, the profits are done. You're paying yourself a salary, and your employees haven't even been paid. In all honesty, and you're making it seem like there were careers there. Honestly speaking, the more you learn about business and the more you learn about stuff, you won't really want to work for certain people. And it's not a failure on your part, it's a failure on other people's part. Because at the end of the day, you shouldn't try to sugarcoat anything or make excuses for certain people. Stuff happens. People are only human. We're not perfect. But at the same time, I would never want to work for somebody to a certain extent. And, like I said, out of 6 months, 3 months, you had the impression that certain stuff was looking good. But the reality is it was a sinking ship all along, and you basically are out of money and lost time. And, a lot of people say people being pessimistic. I don't think so. Be glad you see the handwriting on the wall. If something sounds fishy, more than likely it probably is. And people are trying to turn it any way but loose. It's probably a red flag, man. It's probably a red flag, and especially when we're talking about business and the developments. Like there was this man I watched, Spencer Cornelia. There was this man that got people out of $180,000 talking about that he was going to be bigger than Zoom. I forgot the name of it, but it's his last video. He said this man that scammed people out of $180,000. Now, what I will say, once that man that scammed people out of $180,000, man, I'm sorry as I can be. That man deserves to rot under a jail cell. And this is people's last. And he had scammed people out of $180-something million, man. Guy, I don't know what his name is. He's been on some type of stuff. He's not the first and definitely not the last. He scammed people out of 180. Talk about a startup. It's not a startup. I definitely keep up with business. A lot of people say I don't keep up with business, but no, I read. I really do read. This guy. Come on. I don't know where this guy's at. Wow, I got him. But yeah, I think, man, with business is not for the faint of heart. Alright, it's probably my last one. I'm gonna go to sleep, take it in for the night. But yeah, I hope the lady with her business, everything, she's doing fine mentally, because she's probably in a tough headspace right now. I think another thing too is don't put your eggs in one basket. And then too, the pressures of business and the pressures of certain stuff. But I'm more concerned about the investors, in a sense, and their headspace too, as well. Like again, when you're running a company, you can't. She wasn't using investors' funds. I'm pretty sure she wasn't. She was dating a well-off gentleman in Dubai. But at the same time, when you're running a company, I'm not covering people's personal life. People do what they do. It is what it is. When you're running a company, you're not even doing a job, you're not responding to emails. That looks poorly on you. I'm not saying you have to be a workaholic. I don't want people to be a workaholic. I just think whenever you're not able to have the tough, conversations and certain stuff like that, your leadership and everything about that becomes questionable at best. And then on top of that, you've not been there at a certain time frame. And then all the timing is quite strange. This, that, and the third. Running a startup, and then what they had was truly unique. They were good for 2 years. But like I said, the business market is ever evolving, and then costs. Your drivers. If you don't have certain drivers that make deliveries, and there's so many unforeseeable events coming out, and what they're offering was truly unique. You could got spices. They brought imported goods. They had a whole lot. They had a significant niche market. But sadly, if you're not there and you're the brains behind the business, and then no cross training, and you're not there, and you're not, taking some steps back, everybody should have a vacation. Everybody should have a vacation, but at the same time, when you're taking multiple vacations a month, and you're running a startup, it's not gonna be a successful one. I'm gonna say that. And at the end of the day, who lost in that one? The investors, the person, their reputation. If you go in the space of another thing, you lost those investors as friends. You lost those people's money. You lost everything, and that's not a good look. It's not even necessarily a great idea of poor execution. It was poor execution, but a great product. You basically squandered, I would say time, with a loved one, you can never get that back. So I'm not going to go in on that. You need your time. But I think the big thing becomes is when, people are working and busting their chops and you're being hard on them and you're not giving people grace. and you're doing some stuff that's questionable at best, and then you're also passing off certain stuff and then being defensive. I mean, she's turned off her comments again. Like I said, I will never come for anybody. If I have a problem with somebody, it is what it is. You forgive them, you move past it, and go on. But at the same time, if we're talking about business, I'm not afraid to speak my mind in terms of what I think about business, because at the end of the day, business is business. It's not necessarily about the money component. If you can't see a particular idea and what's wrong, or a particular problem what's wrong with that, then, your days as a business and your days as being in a particular seat or spot is going to be limited. It really is going to be limited. At best, it's really going to be limited. And why is that? I definitely think that lady versus a fool. Another reason too why I think that the business component, especially too, or tech startup places, a lot of yeah. We'll tone it down a little bit, but yeah, I think a lot of stuff with this business stuff, man. I'm disappointed in business and I'm disappointed in people, man. Like, again, I'm not mad at the lady for taking breaks, but I know she's probably hard on herself about the certain stuff she was doing. But again, that's neither here nor there. Founders and stuff make mistakes. As long as it was nothing crazy, like personal stuff, you're abusing people, you're doing that again. Certain stuff has to be dealt with a certain way. She was none of that. But at the same time, I think she was hard on people. But then again, your employees can't be managing the business better than you are. And you're out, you have no idea what's going on in the business, the profits, the profitability. You're the brains behind the business, and you're not even there. That's just lazy. You're basically responding to stuff in the airplane. You're spending more time on the airplane than you're actually on the actual business. A lot of people, they'll get hot at me for saying basically stuff like that. But it's the truth. And once a person is not even really managing a business and the components of it, I wouldn't say it amounts to laziness. But to me, it just shows a great amount of, how would I say it? A person is very comfortable. And being comfortable is not something that someone wants to do. God. Let me see that lady's comment. She's had to shut down a corporation slowly. So I read her version of events, like, you know, very carefully. I form my own opinion off of, you know, what's been posted, what's been said, so I'm more likely I'm dead. Four. Fucking ridiculous, man. Yeah, I'm dead. Y'all got time for one more, and I'm definitely going to sleep. Lastly, like, if I think about business too, business is one of those things. Yeah, people are roasting her. Here's a CEO who skipped paying herself a salary wearing a 1,100 pound denim jacket. Her mom getting paid on time and a similar salary. They're roasting her bad. They are roasting her bad. London is really roasting this lady bad. Wow, this lady put her own money in the business. I possibly say she knew how to run it, but at the same time, you gotta understand when you're doing too much. And that's something that, you know, a lot of people need to understand. Whenever they're doing too much and whenever they're basically not thinking long term about business and then the planning of different version of events. Like, let's say a business is basically done in 4 quarters. You have net gain and you have net loss. You have revenues, operating expense, you have different variables. Most companies like, you know, T-Mobile, Verizon, AT&T, you know, they basically have quarter calls, basically saying how many customers they gained, how many customers they lost, their operating revenues, they have investor calls and earnings. I don't think investing is a great way to make money. I just don't think it is. Investing requires people to have, I would say, a knowledge to certain stuff. A lot of people, a lot of groups, like let's say Morgan Stanley, they necessarily don't really own anything. They manage people's assets. They're an established brand. Is Dean Witter still a thing? Yep. They got basically bought. A lot of these people not managing actual stuff. Well, at least owning, they manage. Just like a mall, it's not even owned by an actual person. It's owned by a group. It's a private equity group. Like, if you get basically banned from a place, you're not necessarily getting banned from the actual people. You're getting banned by the group. They got people's phone numbers. They got the names. They got the information. They got the picture. The person's banned. If you get banned from a place, please do not try to go to the place at all. You'll get yourself in like big trouble. I don't know anything about that. I don't do anything crazy. So that's what it is. That's my honest to God truth. Next, the thing about business too, for the most part, business has to be controlled. How can I say, like, and everything about it. Like, if a person is not necessarily managing the books, like a mall, there's a number of malls that are possibly going bankrupt. Some people buy stuff for pennies on the dollar. Like, there was this mall I used to go to. They were big in the 2000s. They closed like around the decline really started to happen. Maybe I'm going to say like 2015, 2016-ish. And it got liquidated by like before COVID. And then the thing about it, the deal and all the property, the land value wound up going up because it became a site for basically training people how to build Fortnite. That's pretty bad. I think that market valuation for that property is bull because at the end of the day, it was rubble. Before that, it was just rubble and it was just a dead mall. It's still big. They've done some stuff with. I just don't see it as an investment. I speak my mind. It's not an investment. The funds and everything about it in that type of space can not only really be a, how can I say, a really evaluation of market performance. If you have a property that was worth like, $10 million and a company is a multi-billion-dollar thing, please tell me how that building can be worth $30 million. It's not worth $30 million. It's not. The only value that was given was pretty much who bought it. And who bought it, and the land to me is probably going to be worth $10 million, if that. Because there's nothing really that special about the business at all, or the place that occupies it. It's really not. Now, the same thing, there'll be people that buy certain stuff, and certain stuff doesn't make sense. Like Orlando Magic. They built that huge stadium and only used it for like 1 to 2 years. And before you know it, they didn't even use it. So really what you're basically saying is you're giving people money, or you're basically allowing money to be out here, and people are basically giving money or council, certain stuff like that is passing this stuff off because they're thinking dollar signs. And then before you know it, all that money's being siphoned in a traditional sense. And at the same time, you're going out here and you're basically positioning someone to, if at all, to come and get it at a lower discounted rate and then raise the property value of the stuff and then come and see dollar signs, and then the person who's losing really is the taxpayer. And you have all these different these little city stuff or whatnot. Like, a lot of stuff that makes sense to me. People go over cookie cutter issues or certain stuff like that, but they don't see all these little small bills and what type of effects that has, the large implications that has on it. And I really think that that's really problematic once we go and look at it. The smaller issues, but then there's bigger things a part of a bill, and you don't know anything about it. Like schools, in my opinion, schools should be funded whole lot more. I know people talk about the curriculum. The curriculum talk about and wokeness. I mean, history is history. You gotta teach it. Now the thing about it is the narrative. If you're trying to control a narrative at a certain point, just like any type of narrative, really, the United States was basically formed off the backs of slavery, and that's a fact. Black people been like slaves or behind for like, you know, going on what, like 400 years. And that's a fact. I mean, you have, I think a person can go as far as their education will allow them and to their own acumen, their own IQ. That's a fact. But at the same time, we gotta be at least smart enough to be like, hey, when there's some bull like out, you know, you gotta say something about it. Like, you know, I know people talk about real estate is the best way for black family or black household, or someone went in and said the black household doesn't have any money. Well, let's start, you know, the average black person is only getting paid like $40,000. The average black man is getting like $45,000 max. And $45,000 max, that's not bad. The average per capita income in the United States is like what, I'm gonna say $51,000. That's like, it's not bad. I think it's pretty better than Great Britain stuff and all that. You know, I'm a fan of the UK. I don't think with the cost of inflation, the rising cost of everything, you know, you're going to get priced out of a lot of things. Working for somebody is cool, give you a schedule, give you something to do. But at the same time, I like thinking. I don't like to basically not be having the ability to think and basically be told a narrative or basically a lie in a sense, or forced to think a certain way, or forced to not see the handwriting on the wall when it's quite evident. To me, that's problematic. And once you see business in a certain thing or whatnot, like I see this guy. He had a let's say a watch. He had a watch business. Him and the person went their separate ways. There was this guy I used to like watching. He was going to say, I don't know what happened. I hope him and his fiance are still together or whatnot. I don't think he took it too well, the company breakup. Likeable guy, Mr. Cyril from Paris, who had a promising thing. Nice guy, cared about people, real knowledgeable, know how to get people talking about the watches and get them what they want. I hope everything is going well for him. And that's what it is. Like for me personally, when I think about watches and what he was doing with stuff, I think personally that he definitely was a great addition to the business, but I think he didn't see it coming. And that's a sad thing, a sad reality. When you have somebody, you know, is a certain thing, he was an employee, but he was a great addition to the company. He had no idea. And oftentimes, especially when you sell a business or something like that, or there's an end in a partnership, or for whatever reason, the employee is the last person out. But the first person to add the risk, basically, they absorb the risk. They talk to people, they do other stuff, and they're not treated a certain way. So at the end of the day, you would be a fool to believe by these jobs to a certain extent. I want it to be 50-50. I don't want it to be, 50, 55, not even 55, let's say 70-30. You're doing more work than the other person. It should be 50-50. Everything honestly should be 50-50. If the effort's not there and certain stuff is reciprocated, get gone. Get gone. But yeah, Cyril used to love to talk about the watches, really knowledgeable, really personable with the watches. know how to get people, knew exactly what's the right purchase for a person, the type of speed what a person was looking for, helpful, knowledgeable, could present and hold himself well in the conversation, could hold it pretty well. And I definitely think he was hurt by it, and the transition wasn't smooth. The two people wanted to go their own separate direction. One person wanted to move in a new market because they were already going there in the first place, and then at the same time, the person, it was just a bad thing. The other person didn't even know watches at the same time. And he's just in the thing. If a person doesn't know watches, in my opinion, anytime a person doesn't know a product without the use of a pamphlet, they're in some trouble. Because number one, that's not a salesperson. That's just, quite frankly, I don't want to disrespect people. That's kind of brain dead. Anytime that you're selling something you don't know the thing without looking at the thing, you got to look at a computer. Yeah, that, I'm not afraid to give my opinion. A lot of people don't like that. I'm thinking more beyond business. You know, you can't just go, there's an excuse yourself of, bad stuff. Business is one of those things, you're earning for people's money. People don't owe you anything, and vice versa. An employer doesn't owe you anything, but you would think, to a certain extent, if you're fighting for people's money, you're fighting for relevance, and you're fighting against a market trend, people can take their money elsewhere, but the fact that people gave the time of day, and at least they thought of you, it should be an even value and even change for the money, the same type of approach. Because once you don't have no money, and once you're down on your luck, you're going to be in a pretty peculiar standpoint once you find out that, bills have to be paid, your lights and everything, and before you know it, you're not even breaking even. Now your business and stuff is closed. And then once you go down a path like that, you're pretty much going to be on a downward trend. And then you might have to cut a few people. And, hey, for lack of better words, we have to start thinking about business. And shutting your doors are good. And some people, hey, lack of better words, you have to find the next thing. You might have to become an employee again. That's not a good thing. But sometimes, some people need to go back to being an employee again. It just depends. The main thing I would say is never be hustling backwards, man. That's what I wouldn't tell somebody, me personally, how I think, I don't think, honestly speaking, you should be hustling backwards for anybody. Technically speaking, it should be a 50-50. Once someone is not necessarily doing that great for you or you doing that great for them, you gotta go. You gotta go. One of the main problems I think I have, especially with business too, business at a certain point is not going to the drawing board. Too. A lot of people not going to the drawing board to be like, hey, there's areas where I need to work on. There's areas I probably need to work on in my personal life too, by making small steps. But it is what it is. Now, one of the main components I will say about business, some stuff people need to kick to the curb. Whether it be drinking or carrying on with people and not doing any self-improvement, that's pretty bad. I don't make excuses for certain stuff. version is trash. NBA 2K, honestly speaking, man, I'm disappointed in 2K. I know me personally right now, I'm not buying it, bro. I just can't do it. From a financial standpoint, I can't do it. And it's not like, to a certain extent, to me, 2K don't really deserve your money. That's not me hating on 2K. I just think that what they're doing is just terrible to try to boast their pre-orders. It's puffery. What have you seen? The gameplay could be bad for all we know. And the fact they're not giving a demo shows a lot. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. Again, I don't want to come after people riding 2K or anybody. I don't want, nothing bad to happen to people or anything like that. People will go to a certain extent once people release a bad product, and that right there is scary, and that's just bad. We're not supporting on that tip or anything like that. I'll say that. Now, for the most part, too, how I feel about 2K is really one of those things. Again, they're having that community day. And then people have an embargo. They're not showing gameplay. They're only allowed to show like 10 minutes of certain stuff. And for lack of better words, I'm not surprised. It won't be their first time doing it. It definitely won't be the last. I know what the stuff they're doing is not a great value for your money. To go ahead and give them your money now. For gameplay not shown. The meta may change. And all of a sudden, you have a game-breaking glitch in the game or whatnot, and then you're waiting for 2K25 to come out. That's pretty bad. Now, the one thing I will say about 2K25, we're pretty much a year away from that. And the way things go back, people always reminisce about the last couple games. It's actually crazy. I was in 10th grade when 2K16 came out. And if you think about it, 2K16 probably one of the better 2Ks that came out. And it'd be crazy to think about. It'd be a decade. It'll be a decade. And gameplay no game has ever topped that. As far as I'm concerned. 2K24, I don't think will top 2K16 by far. Gameplay wise, skill wise, 2K16 was fun. And I think 2K16 was the last foolproof build that you could make. 2K17, sharpshooters and stuff, like my sharpshooter was ass. That 6'7" sharpshooter couldn't even dribble. It couldn't do anything past shooting. It was one-dimensional, and it was terrible. Come to think about it, the best thing I made was a stretch big, and I didn't play on it that much. And then I made a shot creator. The shot creator I didn't really like that because you actually had to do some other stuff. Like you actually had to take shots off the dribble and do all those other moves like Tyson was doing. That was way too much. And then they finally just went 2K18. They finally just went to, you can still do it, but you went strictly to pretty much everything. You get just straight mid ranges and you'll be money. But past that, nah. I can't be part of puffery, man. Imagine giving $74 to your buddy and then not including VC in that season's pass, man. Nah. I mean, when someone does something like that, that's just mad. Now, another aspect about business too, just not even limited to 2K, controlling the narrative and not giving a sample size of a product. Like obviously, entertainment people are going to have certain access to certain stuff. Like I'm kind of in the luxury goods business, so I've seen expensive stuff like RMs, APs. These watches and stuff are tiny. Like RM is tiny. I don't think RM 100%. I'm a fan of RM, but RM innovation is there, but in the product and what they're offering is very. They're not trying to be a serious watchmaker, and I would, so for RM, I would tell them they don't take themselves too seriously. They're having fun. There's nothing special about a to-know shaped case. Other places have been doing that since the 1920s, but RM basically popularized it. Frank Mueller was the first person to really do it in like the early 2000s, 1990s, late 90s, mid 90s. RM was unknown in the early 2000s, and in 2016, RM was basically laughed at. You get an RM11 for $65,000, and a day it's worth $220. So you could have 4x your money by getting an RM like 6 years ago. So watches, I would say they're an investment because anything is not an investment. You can't see it today. Like a Cartier crash, not an investment. It's a dog watch. That's not my personal opinion. That's dog. The quality isn't there. You have so many examples of a Cartier crash. Like you have the London version. You have all this type of stuff. And that watch is going for like $200,000. Retail was probably like what, $24K? Now it's something like $200K. Doesn't make sense. A lot of these people try to make stuff sound like an investment, but it's not an investment. The only person I really like their content is Luxury Soup. I know I find myself in a lot of hot water to give my opinion on the market, but I'm fairly honest. And I really believe this stuff that's coming out of my mouth. Because to me, the market is one of those things. The premium, sometimes certain stuff doesn't exist. People try to explain to you why the premium is the way it is, but it's not really the premium. Like I can't charge $47,000 for a Lefty Sprite when I know that's not the case for the pricing. That watch today is worth $21,000. And so it's really trying to make a quick profit. They're going to try to sell it for $23,000. And to me, I'd rather take $1,000 profit than have it sitting on in a showcase for 2 months. Because me, at a certain point, once you're not lowering the price, it's an ego thing, and that's not necessarily a good thing. I'd rather just get it out the way, let someone enjoy it, have better use for it than have it sit in a showcase. I'm not afraid to speak my mind. Damn. I hope you guys enjoyed the stream, man. I'm out.